Welcome to Thursday Night Football with CC. You have the Atlanta Falcons traveling to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Should be an exciting football game after coming off of last night's World Series. Sports fans out there, we're looking for another exciting night. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a very tough loss in last week's game against the Oakland Raiders. Atlanta Falcons, these are two teams going in two different directions. The Atlanta Falcons coming off a huge win against the Green Bay Packers playing at home. The Atlanta Falcons in the next 10 days is a crucial stretch in their season before they have their bye week. They play Tampa Bay tonight, then they play at Philadelphia next week, then they have the bye week and a chance to get rested up because they do have a number of injuries. The Falcons tonight, there are a number of players who won't be playing for them. Dwight Freeney is out of tonight's game. Tammy is out of tonight's game, and also Jaquez Rogers is out for Tampa Bay. Dwight Freeney he's that pickup that they believe will pay dividends late in the season, being December and January. They got Vic Beasley Jr., who's playing outstanding football out of Clemson the second year. Dan Quinn finally has some of the type of defensive athletes that he wants to see, that he was able to duplicate that type of aggressive style in Seattle that he's trying to bring to Atlanta. Dan Quinn, in his first year and a half in Atlanta Falcons, has not won against Tampa Bay and Jameis Winston. Jameis is 3-0, 2-0 last season. Then the first week of the season got the victory, 31-24. Matty Ice, he has to be one of the top three leaders for MVP this season. Him and Jameis both played well in week number one, but since then Jameis has a touch of interceptions and not completing as many passes. And Matt Ryan, has gone on to play some of the best football we've seen from the quarterback. I think that in their second year under, offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan, they're starting to get more familiar with the offense. You can see that with Matty Ice. And also the addition of Mohamed Sanu. I believe it adds that additional weapon opposite of Julio Jones, who arguably could say he's the best receiver in the NFL. Julio's not one to boast. He's very, very quiet. He's been banged up the last couple weeks. But the thing that Matty Ice has done in Shanahan's offense is he's been able to spread the ball around. Atlanta is one of the few teams in the league where they have 8 receivers that have more than 10 completions, pass catches a piece. So that right there lets you know that he's judicial with the football. He's moving around, and they're not going to let you just try to key in on Julio Jones and take him out of the football game. Tampa Bay, the running back could be by committee. They picked up Antone Smith. He had 3 previous seasons under Dirk Cutter in Atlanta, so he's very familiar with the offense. But they will still do it by committee. They have to give, Jameis some type of running game to be able to balance it out so they don't turn the football over. One thing you should watch going into the game tonight is the defensive personnel of Tampa Bay. In last week's game that went into overtime with the Oakland Raiders, they played 93 snaps in a football game. Now, in comparison to the Atlanta defense, who played against a good Green Bay offense, they only played 60 snaps. So, yes, we know the game went into overtime. Jameis had 2 possessions. He wasn't able to, do anything with the offense. So they went 3 and out twice in overtime. But that defense, I believe you will see that on the field tonight. In a defense that, as the game goes on, those 93 snaps that they played against Oakland and now facing the best offense in the NFL, how does that look? Atlanta on the flip side, how do they slow down Tampa Bay? How do they make them one-dimensional? How do they create some turnovers defensively? This is a defense that played a lot better than they did last year. Still not creating enough turnovers, which Quinn likes, but you'll see they're undersized defense. They run to the ball, and they try to get their hands on the ball and try to create turnovers. So I'm excited to see that. Mohamed Sanu tonight, yes or no? I would say yes. Sanu is a great compliment, and I believe that he's an upgrade over Roddy White where he was last year. I'm not saying he had a better career than Roddy White, but the speed element that he provides to the lineup opposite of Julio Jones gives their offensive coordinator more flexibility. So I do look forward to Sanu having a big game. I do believe Matty Ice will throw for over 400 yards. I believe this will be an offensive explosion. Between the quarterbacks, they'll probably throw for 650 yards between the two of them. Usually seems like the home team wins on Thursday night. Well, you know, they have a huge advantage because they don't have to travel. But when you look at the Tampa Bay defense, and they played 93 snaps last week, I believe they are at a tremendous disadvantage. And I don't see Tampa Bay being able to hold on Thursday night and be able to take advantage of the home field advantage. Any other football questions out there, NFL related? And a lot of people are asking me about the Vikings and their shakeup offensive coordinator Norv Turner resigning this week. You know, what does that say for the Minnesota Vikings coming down the stretch? It says that, you know, that they're having problems, and they're having problems as far as philosophy of what they want to do. I like that Mike Zimmer, you know, he's the kind of guy that's a no nonsense. He gets right to it. And Norv Turner, I got a great deal of respect for Norv. So Norv felt like there was definitely not the synergy that he wanted. And Norv likes to run the offense his way. And when people get in the way of that, Norv stepped aside and said he felt like his talent would be better utilized somewhere else. So I look forward to seeing the Vikings, how they finish after stumbling the last 2 weeks after starting off 5-2. Odell Beckham Jr. back on top after the next few weeks. Well, they're going to try to get him the football. But, you know, teams are going to try to force the Giants to throw the ball to their running backs, throw the ball to their tight end, and not let Odell get the football. So, yes, they will try to get him the football. Eli will try to get him the football, but some of the other receivers and tight end or the running back have to step up. Can the Packers make it to the Super Bowl without a running back? Well, Eddie Lacy, I believe he will be healthy at one point in the season. But I do believe that Eddie Lacy will be the kind of player that he'll always battle weight problems. He'll always, especially playing in Green Bay, I think that he'll always be a bigger back, and I think that he'll always have to fight against injuries because he's a rugged type of back who gets hit an awful lot. And those backs don't last very long in the NFL. Other NFL questions? Or questions about tonight's game? The best quarterback in the league this year, you have to say it's Tom Brady. He has been almost perfect after the 4-game suspension. He's come back on top of his game. And at 39 years old, it's just hard to imagine the level for which he's playing at. It's very, very hard to do. He's had all the success. He has everything that a man could want on and off the field, but he still has a great desire to play and play at a high level. So that part right there is very encouraging for the New England Patriots. Not a good look for the rest of the NFL. Is Dak a good pickup? I believe Dak's a good pickup, but I believe also Tony Romo will be playing in a couple weeks. Now, it's not a matter of what's the right thing to do, because Jerry Jones, I believe, is going to be committed to Tony Romo and put him back into the lineup. But if it was me, I would stay with young Dak and ride it out because he's definitely the quarterback of the future. Giants definitely do need a running back. There are a lot of teams need a running back. You're going to see in tonight's game, Tampa Bay, you know, Anton Smith, they were able to bring him back after being out of the league. So there's a number of teams. Minnesota Vikings, they could use another running back. So running backs are in need. Any other questions surrounding tonight's game or any other NFL questions or fantasy questions? I'd love to be able to answer them for you. What's going on with the Seahawks? Well, I believe their lack of paying the offensive line. I think that they are the lowest paid, or in the top 3 lowest paid as far as resources, dollars to the offensive linemen, and you're starting to see that. They've taken care of some of the players that they drafted earlier and signed them to contract extensions, but the inability to be able to keep marquee offensive linemen or sign marquee offensive linemen, I believe, and that's why Russell Wilson's been banged up all week. Who's coming out of the NFC East? I think Dallas is the favorite to come out of the East. I think that their defense, you still have to watch them. You still have to be a little leery of their lack of pass pressure that they can put on the quarterback on a weekly basis. And I still am concerned about their secondary. Mo Claiborne got hurt last week. You know, will he be able to come back? down the stretch, because he's been, a pleasant surprise, starting to become more consistent playing corner. Adrian Peterson, is his career over after this year? No, I don't think his career is over with. I think the Vikings have a tough decision to make. They definitely miss Adrian's presence on the field, but that offensive line, they're averaging like 3 yards per carry. Adrian Peterson or any other running back in the league, it's hard to be successful. But I believe Adrian does have a future in the NFL, and I hope that's in Minnesota. What's wrong with the Colts? Well, the Colts are kind of suffering from kind of the same thing that Seattle's suffering from a defensive standpoint. Defensively, can they put pressure on the quarterback? Offensive line, not a lot of good big people. Can they protect Luck? And, haven't had a 100-yard rusher since the Cubs were 108 years ago in the World Series. So, the lack of a running game puts a lot of pressure on Andrew Luck week in and week out, and their receiving core has been banged up. T.Y. Hilton has played the first half of the season outstanding. Thoughts on the Browns? I believe the Browns have some good young players, and I like, what the coach is doing there, but it's just hard to be patient enough with these young players and give the coach an opportunity to continue to draft, players that fit, what he wants to do. Duke Johnson is going to be a good player. He's one of those players that I like to see develop. Do the 49ers need a new coach? Well, they had a good coach in Harbaugh. They let him go. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Chip Kelly back in college football in the next 2 years. And if he had the opportunity to go back to the Oregon Ducks, he might not think so, but I think that would be a great landing spot for him. Thanks for all the questions. Looking forward to giving you an update at halftime, a recap of the first half play, and then also a recap of the game afterwards. Hope you enjoy the game. Week number 9, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jameis Winston versus the Atlanta Falcons and the Dirty Birds and Julio Jones. Enjoy the game.